My name is Nate, and I am so excited that you have decided to join us again for Journey Kids Online. I cannot tell you how excited I am for today's story. It's really cool, and in fact, it honestly is getting me a little hungry. So before we do that, I'm gonna go get a snack while you play this game. So you know what time it is? It's game time. Let's check it out. All right, so our game today is really awesome. It's actually a little bit about food, but it's gonna be pretty cool, so I want you to check it out. Let's kick it. This is Tank. Tank is not a turtle. He is a tortoise. Check out that shell, that thing is awesome. Tank likes to walk around. And he does this weird thing with his neck. We're not even sure what that even is, but he's doing it. Can you do it? Oh, it's dinner time for Tank. And Tank loves to eat. Man, that watermelon does look good. Can you guess what Tank will choose to eat for dinner tonight? All right, round one. Let's do it. Which will Tank choose? Stand for apples or sit down for strawberries? Stand for apples, sit down for strawberries. Which one? Come on, pick. Hurry up. Let's see, which one? Come on, buddy. He's up. It's apples. If you picked apples, that means if you're standing up, good job, Tank. Those apples did look good. All right, which one will he choose between these two? Stand for broccoli, sit down for squash. Stand for broccoli, sit for squash. Which one? He went with apples last time. I wonder what he's gonna do this time. Which one? Come on, Tank. All right. Oh, he went with broccoli. That was awesome. He went with broccoli. I would probably go with broccoli over squash. I'm not lying to you. That man, he's really getting after it. All right, I hope you've enjoyed the first two rounds going in. I actually want to remind you that there's actually bonus rounds today right now on both Facebook and YouTube. Just visit the link below to check out those bonus rounds and be sure to even share it if you want to. Tell somebody else about this fun game and maybe even see what they would pick together. So let's hop right back into our last round. All right, last round, let's do it. All right, let's see here. Which will Tank choose? Stand for radishes or sit for watermelon? Stand for radishes or sit for watermelon? That watermelon still looks good though. Especially from the beginning, man, it still looks yummy. Let's see here. He's up, he's going. Oh, watermelon! Man, that's what I would have picked every single time. All right, so that was awesome. I'm so glad you had fun with it. I hope you got them all right. Even if you didn't, that's okay too. Our lesson today is not actually about choices, but a little bit about food. And so I actually want to hop right back into that. I hope you had fun playing that game. That game was awesome. I had so much fun just figuring out which one that tortoise, not a turtle, that tortoise was going to pick each and every time. All right, so today, our story has to do with a little bit of choices, but really it's kind of a daily choice. Not exactly what we eat, even though there is food in our story. My snack was excellent. It's not really about food. It's about who are we choosing to trust and who are we choosing to follow for our regular stuff. For our regular everyday stuff. So it reminds me of our big picture question, which is what? Why did Jesus do miracles? Why did Jesus do miracles? And there's three parts to it, and I think this story illustrates all three parts really well. So let's hop into the story.
Jesus' disciples had been hard at work. They had been healing people and teaching them. So many people came and went that the disciples did not even have time to eat. So Jesus said to them, "Come with me. Let's go to a quiet place where we can be alone and get some rest." Jesus and his disciples got into a boat to cross the Sea of Galilee, but many people saw them leaving. The people traveled by foot and they ran ahead of Jesus. When Jesus and his disciples got to the shore, the people were already there waiting for them. Jesus saw the crowd and he cared about them because they were like sheep who needed a shepherd. So Jesus taught the people many things about God's kingdom, and he healed people who were sick. By this time, it was late in the day. Jesus' disciples came to him and said, "We are out in the middle of nowhere, and it's getting late. Tell the people to go away so they can go to the farms and villages to buy themselves something to eat." But Jesus said, "They don't need to go away. You give them something to eat." Jesus' disciples were confused. "We can't feed this many people," they said. "It would cost a whole year's pay to buy enough bread for them to eat," Philip said. Jesus asked, "How many loaves of bread do you have? Go look." Jesus' disciple Andrew said, "A boy here has 5 loaves and 2 fish, but what good will that do for so many people?" Jesus told the disciples to instruct everyone to sit down. So all the people sat down in big groups on the grass. Jesus took the 5 loaves of bread and the 2 fish. He looked up to heaven, and then he blessed the bread. He broke it into pieces and gave it to the disciples. He also divided up the fish. The disciples passed out the food to the people, and everyone ate until they were full. Then Jesus told the disciples to collect any leftover food. The disciples collected 12 baskets full of pieces of bread and fish. Jesus fed about 5,000 men that day, plus women and children. By feeding the 5,000, Jesus provided for the physical needs of the crowd. The next day, Jesus called himself the bread of life. Only Jesus is able to satisfy our souls forever by providing forgiveness, peace with God, and eternal life.
Man, what a cool story. I wonder if you've heard that before, and if you haven't, holy cow, right? That's amazing that Jesus took such a little bit of food and made it feed everyone. In fact, it kind of showcases our big picture question. It really showcases why Jesus came. So why did Jesus perform miracles? Well, there's 3 parts to it. 1, to glorify God, right? To glorify God means to show off and show how special God is. 2, it's to show that he is God's son. Jesus is God's son. And then 3, it's to care for people. In our story today, he did all 3 things in actually multiple ways, right? He took care of their physical needs so he could tell them about their spiritual needs. He took care of the boys' physical needs and even actually addressed and took care of the disciples' growth and understanding. But it took faith from all the people there to listen, obey, and maybe even eat the food, right? Well, actually, as we go into that, fully relying on God is one of those things that sounds smart and sounds easy, but it may be a little harder than it looks like on the surface. And actually, I have an experiment to show you, to show how it might actually happen and how not relying fully on God, well, it doesn't always turn out the best. So let's go into experiment time. I think you're going to like this one. All right, so our experiment today is pretty awesome. It requires just a few things, all right? So let me get them, okay? It requires 1 glass of water, all right? 1 glass of water, whoop, all right? And it requires 2 straws. Not 1, but 2, all right? So you're gonna wrap them, all right? So you're gonna put 1 in, all right? And keep 1 not in, okay? So 1 in and 1 not in. Let me get rid of this trash. Is that what you do with your trash at home? Whoop. All right. Whoop, 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 whoop. I promise I'll pick it up later, okay? All right, so you're gonna put 1 in and, well, you know, this is pretty straightforward. When I drink from this, water goes down, right? Water goes down. But if I take 1 straw in and 1 straw out and try to drink, almost no water came up. Why is that? Well, you see, when I have one, I'm concentrating on one thing at a time, right? Just one thing. But when I try to do two, I'm both sucking. What am I sucking through this? I'm not sucking air, or I'm not sucking water, am I? I'm sucking what? Air, right? You almost hear it, right? I mean, nothing's coming in. In fact, almost no water's coming up. Why? Well, because my suction is coming in both of them. And when we have more than one master, it's like serving two straws at the same time. We need to have one at a time, not two, just one. All right? In fact, the same thing goes when we talk about Jesus. If we're trying to serve more than one thing at a time, it's like sucking from two different straws. It's not going to work. Listen, I think when we see that, we have to understand that things are created a certain way. That we're not just talking about what is best and what we like or what we don't like. We're talking about the way it works, kind of like a gravity situation, right? Gravity doesn't turn off, all right? It's just the way it works, right? Water is wet. It's just the way it works. Hot dog's a sandwich. It's just the way it is. Well, God needs to be fully relied on in order for the best things to happen. And as we think about those things, sometimes big questions come along. And I know I've always wondered maybe why there's so much pain in the world, or why there's so much even hunger. And Pastor Brian talks a little bit about that today, just with the simple physical needs of food needed around the world. And so I actually really enjoy his answers, so let's actually hop into our question video.
Hi there, I'm Pastor Brian, and it's time for Questions from Kids. Autumn from Tulsa, Oklahoma asks,
if Jesus meets our needs, why do some people not have enough to eat?
Autumn, that's a fantastic question, a difficult one, because we know that God has promised to meet needs, but at times we see people who, maybe are homeless or who are hungry, and we have to ask, how do these kind of align? Well, let me kind of answer this a little bit because it's a really challenging one, but let me kind of speak to a couple ideas that are baked into this question. The first thing is this: we have to differentiate between what is a want and a need. I think sometimes that's kind of a problem, that we assume that wants are actually needs, and they're not. And God does not promise to give us our wants all the time, just our needs. So that's the first part. The second part is this, that we have to look at this over the long term. There may be somebody who goes without a meal and is hungry, and we can say, well, God's not meeting that person's needs, right? But then God provides for that need the next day, and they have food to eat. So you have to look at the longer term as well. Another aspect is this, that God has promised to meet needs, and He chooses to use the church to meet a lot of those needs. So a lot of this should cause us to care deeply about stepping in to other people's lives and recognizing there are people who are hungry in our towns. And God has given us resources to help meet those needs. Are we being faithful? Are we giving generously? Are we serving? Are we spending time helping at a soup kitchen, for example, that is there to help meet the needs of people who don't have money right now? And so there are a lot of things going on here in terms of those practical needs. But the bigger idea here, the idea that we can be a little bit more clear on is this: the greatest need we have is not food or a place to live. The greatest need we have is Jesus. And God has completely met that need by giving us Jesus to provide salvation for us when we trust in Him. That is our greatest need, and that need is available for anyone who calls on Him. And so we have to remember that as well. As we seek to meet the physical needs of people, the greater thing we need to do is make sure we are stepping in to share Christ so their greater spiritual need can be met. So here's a question back for you to consider. What needs will you trust Jesus to meet?
I hope that answer clarified a little bit more about what God means when He says He'll always take care of us. Because sometimes He uses the way things are built. The church, us, our desires to help one another. We're made to, if we have a lot, we're made to make sure that others that don't have something as well. And when we don't fulfill that, we're not helping God. We're not doing His part. And I don't know if you ever heard it, but sometimes some people say that it's actually more rewarding to give than it is to receive. That means you actually may get more out of it if you give things instead of just keeping it all for yourself. The happiness comes more when you share, when you get to enjoy those things together. I hope you see that, and I hope you start thinking about, maybe your wheels are turning about how you can help others around you. And by doing that, you're fully relying on God. You're saying, God, what do you want me to do? God, you've given me so much. How can I help others? And then parents, I hope that you're listening as well, how to lead your family to those thoughts. I look forward to seeing each and every one of you very, very soon, and look forward to hearing about how God is working in each one of your lives. Until then, I'll talk to you later. Bye.